What is going on, OG fam? Today we're talking all about Universal. So we're gonna first topic on the books actually is gonna be, are the expectations too high for Epic Universe? We're also gonna dive into whether or not your boy OG is a Universal hater. We're gonna address all of that up next on OG55. Welcome aboard to another episode of OG55. So we are talking all about Universal today. I am flying solo. So we have a lot to dive into. So let's not waste any more time, shall we? Let's dive right into the topics at hand. Okay. So our good friend of the channel, Disney Glimpses. We love Disney Glimpses. Shout out to Mr. DG. We love you. He made a tweet the other day that was causing a lot of ruckus. Okay, a lot of ruckus. DG causing all kinds of trouble, all kinds of problems on Twitter. He says here, expectations for Universal's Epic Universe are too high. Okay, he goes on to follow up saying, it feels as though the community feels that somehow this park will make up for Walt Disney World's recent shortcomings. It's an odd paradox, and it's there, and it's not going to happen. Our other good friend of the channel, actually, Gracie's Bro, I've featured many of his tweets on the channel before, says here, outside of Nintendo, I don't see much excitement behind any of the other IP that will be featured. Even Potter has run its course as a key driver. Joe Q Public does not give a fuck about Universal Classic Monsters. Okay, let's dive. There's a lot already to unpack here, right? I've been saying for a long time, Disney Glimpses is 1,000% correct. The expectations for Epic Universe are too high. That doesn't mean, and I know a lot of people are interpreting his tweet as he's wishing failure on Universal, or he thinks that Epic Universe will be a bad park, or yada yada yada. That's not what DG is saying. What DG is saying is that the expectations are too high. You can still be a great park, but the expectations going into that are still too high, right? And I've been saying this for a long time, is that I think fans, maybe because Universal doesn't release a lot of information for fans to really chew on, so they kind of get in their own head a little bit, right? Like Star Wars fans, we call this headcanon, where leading up to a Star Wars movie, because with Star Wars movies, there's not a lot of information going into that as well. We kind of get in our own head as to what's going to happen in these movies. Okay, the expectations, it kind of reminds me a lot, actually, of like the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Leading up to those movies, the expectations were very high, and people were kind of in their own head, kind of assuming, kind of speculating as to what's going to happen. Oh, is Luke going to do this? Is Luke going to do that? Is Darth Plagueis going to be in this? Yada, yada, yada. A lot of headcanon going on. And so when the actual movies came out, they fell kind of short. Well, that's what's kind of going on here with Epic Universe, in that it's the expectations are so damn high that it's almost to the point where nothing is going to actually meet those expectations. Okay. Not that the park isn't going to be good. Okay. It's that the expectations are so high that it's anything short of this thing changing the entire industry and having Disney on its knees is just not going to be what fans were expecting. It's going to lead to disappointment. So DG's absolutely right. And I've said this so many times, you guys, on so many videos, that this is very much an issue for this park going into it. Okay. What Gracie's Bro here says, he says, outside of Nintendo, I don't see much excitement behind any of the other IP that will be featured. Even Potter has run its course as a key driver. That's absolutely correct. Okay, that's absolutely correct. Friend of the channel, WDW Pro, broke this story, I believe on Valiant Renegade's channel recently, like I think it was like last week, that Warner Brothers Discovery wants to reboot the Harry Potter movies. You don't go in for a full reboot because the franchise is still super relevant. Okay. Warner Brothers is even considering, even if they don't end up doing it, the fact that they're even considering a reboot shows that there are cracks in the longevity of this Potter franchise. So Gracie's bro is absolutely correct in that even Potter isn't the IP that it once was a decade ago. Okay. He goes on to say Joe Q Public does not give a fuck about Universal Classic Monsters. Again, he's right. How many times? Look, Universal was going to have this whole cinematic universe connected to the Universal monsters. Remember that? And it died a dog's death. It died a dog's death. These monsters, they're classic for sure. Everyone knows what Frankenstein and Dracula is, but a lot of these movies don't really do well. Universal's got to hit a massive home run in regards to the monsters, even to get like the regular, like Joe Q Public or, you know, Joey Bag of Donuts, whatever, regular guy excited about this stuff. There's just not a whole lot going on here in this park. Okay. Nintendo is a huge draw. Nintendo is something that I think, yes, absolutely, Universal has that. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm around this brand, both young and old. People my age have a lot of nostalgia for the NES, the SNES. Young kids growing up love the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo is a huge thing, absolutely. But every other brand, every other IP in this park is okay. How to Train Your Dragon. Those movies were very, very good. Very good. Arguably DreamWorks' best animation, I think. And they did very well, these movies, but are they relevant now? They kind of fell off once the trilogy ended. Let's be honest. Okay. So is that going to be a huge draw? I really don't think so. Okay. There's not a whole lot going on here. Another issue with Epic Universe is that it's all mostly thrill rides. Okay, Super Nintendo Land has Mario Kart and the Yoshi People Mover. Okay, those are family friendly. Everyone can go on those rides, but just about everything else in this park feel like stuff that like your little kid or your grandma can't go on. Okay, the rumor for this Classic Monsters attraction is it's going to be a Kuka arm, like Forbidden Journey, on a roller coaster track. You're not going to bring your 85-year-old grandma on that ride, okay? Or your young one. If you have a 5-year-old, they probably can't even get on it, okay? Even the kiddie land, like the How to Train Your Dragon area, the signature attraction in that land is a fucking roller coaster again, okay? And even in Nintendo land, you got the Donkey Kong coaster. You have a bunch of really thrilling coaster type of attractions and not a whole lot of slow moving dark rides that the entire family can enjoy. And that's really one of the signature things when Walt Disney set out to make Disneyland. He wanted it to be a place where the parents and the children can have fun together. And I think that's really a key ingredient to the success of Disneyland and Disney parks, and that there's a variety of experiences that people can enjoy, whether you're 80 or whether you're 8. Okay. This park, what we know so far of it, does not have a lot of variety. It's 95% thrill ride, and there's very little in regards to like stuff that everyone else can go on. That's going to hurt it. Okay. And it all goes back to this expectation game. Okay. Universal cannot overtake Disney if they're always going to pander to like the young and healthy, so to speak, right? This young audience that wants to be, you know, tossed around and put upside down and go really high speed and all that stuff. That's great for a young audience from like, you know, teenager to like, you know, maybe 35. But what about the 40 and over? What about your grandparents? What about your little kids? Are they going to be able to go on anything in this theme park? Probably not, or at least not very much. And that's a huge problem for this park. That's a huge problem for this park. And that's going to continue to plague this place, I think, you know. So we'll see what happens. Look, I am not rooting for this place to fail. I have said many, many times, Epic Universe will be a big hit. I think overall it will be a success. Is it going to bring Disney, the Walt Disney Company, to its knees? Absolutely not. Okay. Absolutely not. Will it be a moderate success? Will it be something that like will definitely be a boon for Universal? Absolutely. Okay. But look, I'm old enough. I'm 43 years old. I'm old enough to remember all the hype leading up to Islands of Adventure and how Islands of Adventure was going to bring Disney to its knees, right? Bring Disney to its knees. They're going to take over the theme park industry in Florida because Universal's building Islands of Adventure. Never freaking happened. We saw the same thing with Volcano Bay. Oh, this is going to revolutionize the water park industry and yada, yada, yada. Never happened. And now we're seeing the same narrative leading up to Epic Universe. Oh, this is going to revolutionize everything, change everything. Never happened. And look, our friend and family of the channel, Mr. Vast Sky, we love him dearly. I think he actually has a really good kind of analysis on Epic Universe. And basically what he's saying is it's not going to change a whole lot. It's just going to shift the center of gravity a little bit. And I think he's actually correct in that. I think it will shift the center of gravity. I do think that that's the case. Okay. Now, how and where will it shift? I don't know. It could shift away from Disney, possible. It can also shift in ways where it cannibalizes some of Universal's own parks. Remember, when Epic Universe opens and it's like a 10-minute drive from the current Universal Resort, how is that going to impact Universal's own parks? Are people going to go to all three Universal parks, or are they going to do Epic and Island of Adventure and skip the studio? That's a question. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's a definite possibility that people need to consider. That's all I'm saying. Okay. That's all I'm saying. So this park has an uphill battle. Okay. I know a lot of Universal fans don't want to acknowledge that. They just want to admit, they just want to say like, oh, well, this is an automatic home run. Universal's got this in the bag. Not necessarily, y'all. Not necessarily. And it's good to go into these things a little bit with a little bit of skepticism and a little bit of question marks, because you don't want to get a little too cocky, right? You don't want to get a little too cocky. Okay. So I want to go over something else with you guys. Okay. So, Ranking the Mouse, who's actually a friend of the channel. I love Ranking the Mouse. Sean is a friend of the channel. Really, really good guy. And actually has a great YouTube channel. I will link it down below. Please subscribe to him. He does phenomenal stuff. Now, even as friends, we don't always agree, right? I mean, that's normal. Okay. We're not always going to see eye to eye. So he sent this yesterday on Twitter, and I thought it was interesting, and I want to kind of address it because I don't want any misconceptions out there in regards to like my thought process or my kind of like the way I approach things, right? I don't want to come off a certain way because really, well, let me read the tweet and I'll explain. He says here, OG, when did you become such a Universal hater? You used to give proper props to uni parks. Now it feels like you criticize them any chance you get. Okay. And that's a fair question from Sean. It absolutely is a fair question. I am pretty critical of Universal, but here's the thing. It's not so much Universal that I have an issue with. It's more about the fan response to Universal. If you notice a lot of my videos, you'll notice it's more about the fan response, the double standard, the kind of the hypocrisy, right? I see a lot from the theme park community when Universal does really well, whether it be a Wizarding World or a Super Nintendo World. I see a lot of talk about how, well, Universal is on Disney's level now. They are creating Disney level experiences, Disney level theme parks, Disney level attractions, right? So when Universal does good, it's on Disney's level. Now, when Universal shits the bed, like with Fast and Furious Supercharged, or maybe some things in like Super Nintendo World, like unthemed tarps, or just backstage buildings painted blue with some clouds on them, kind of half-ass measures. When you bring that stuff up, then people kind of fall back on, well, you know, it's not Disney, so I don't really hold them to the same standard as Disney, so give them a little bit of a break, give them some slack. Well, you can't have it both ways, fam. You can't have it both ways. You can't say when Universal does great things that they're on Disney's level or even better, and then fall back on, well, they're not Disney, so give them some slack when they shit the bed. Okay, and that's where I'm at with this. I'm more. My issue with Universal is not so much Universal, and I do have issues with Universal. I'll get to that in a minute, but my issue isn't so much Universal as it is the fan response to Universal. Okay, it's the fan response to Universal. Recently, I did a video about these kind of like these unthemed like shade structures at Super Mario World, right? And they're pretty unsightly. And I think, from what I understand, the land was like shown to like some vloggers and what have you. And I guess like the underneath of these theme structures have like screen printed Mario imagery on them. Okay, still a pretty lazy fucking attempt. Okay, it's honestly, screen printed imagery of Mario stuff underneath is still pretty lazy. They're still basically shade structures you can buy at Home Depot. Okay, let's be real. But the thing is like, I got a lot of pushback when I criticized Universal on that. You know, a lot of fans were like, oh, OG, come on, you know, give him a break, give him a break. And I'll show you, look, even this stuff right here. I mean, honestly, look at those buildings right next to it, painted blue with the little clouds on it. Would that fly in the Disney community? If you put that into a Disney theme park, and we've seen, to be fair, we've seen stuff like this in a Disney theme park. How did it go over? How did this go over in a Disney theme park? We saw all the complaining and all the outrage over a coffee shop at the Boardwalk Resort in Florida. I saw a ton of outrage over a steel beam holding up a spaceship at Cosmic Rewind. The outrage involved behind everything Disney if it's not perfect, right? You go to Universal, who is supposedly on Disney's level, and they're doing shit like this. Would this blue building this blue warehouse painted blue with some clouds on it, would that fly with Disney fans? No, it wouldn't. So why is it okay for Universal to do it? If Universal is the player in this theme park industry that fans are saying, if Universal is on Disney's level, then you have to hold Universal accountable for crapping the bed. And this is not acceptable if you're going to say they're Disney quality. Just be consistent, people. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking for you to go after Universal and attack Universal and treat them differently than Disney. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is if they're equal, if they're going to play with the big dog, Disney, and you say they're equal to the big dog, which is Disney, then we microanalyze them and we hold them to the same high standard as the big dog. But you can't have it both ways. It can't be, well, Universal is Disney level when they do good, and then, well, give them some slack when they fuck up because, well, they're not Disney. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. So I'm not a Universal hater. I'm more critical of the fandom and the response and the past. I feel like Universal is like teacher's pet. It gets annoying to see the teacher's pet constantly get away with murder while everyone is microanalyzing with a microscope Disney. I mean, Disney can't even redecorate a bathroom without the fandom going nuts over it. So that's all I'm saying. Universal makes a good product. I always have fun at Universal. Matter of fact, I'm planning on actually going to Universal very, very soon. I have no issue with Universal overall as a theme park, whatever. My issue is the fan response. Okay, my issue is the fan response. Now, one other thing that I do have a little bit of an issue when it comes to Universal. And look, I'm going to be on an island when it comes to this. I understand that. But I just want to be upfront with my audience. I want to be upfront with you and kind of give you a little bit of where I stand with this overall company. In 2004, Comcast CEO Brian Roberts made an unsolicited hostile takeover bid of the Walt Disney Company. This was when Michael Eisner was still the CEO. And there was a ton of stuff going on with Disney, the SaveDisney.com campaign with Roy Disney and Stan Gold. If you're watching this channel, You probably remember all that stuff, okay? Because we're all nerds, right? Okay. Well, obviously, Brian Roberts was not successful in buying Disney. He wanted it. He wanted it bad. He wanted ESPN. He wanted the content. Didn't get it. He felt like he was disrespected and kind of like passed over when that whole thing went down. Okay. And Bob Iger became the CEO. Okay. Ever since then, he's had, and I'll link down below an article you can check out in regards to this, get a little more detail. But ever since then, Brian Roberts, CEO of Comcast Universal, has had a chip on his shoulder with Disney. A chip on his shoulder with Disney. And it's not about so much friendly competition with Disney now. It's about, well, I was unsuccessful in my unsolicited hostile takeover of the Walt Disney Company. So now I'm going to do everything I can do to hurt this company. That's the mindset now with Brian Roberts. And that's why, look, friendly competition is fantastic. You know, we see it a lot with like Marvel and DC. Okay. When James Gunn announced he was leaving Marvel to go to DC, Kevin Feige said, we're going to focus on Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But once James Gunn starts releasing his DC movies, I'll be the first person in the theater to check them out. That's friendly competition. What's not friendly competition is when Brian Roberts purposely tries to outbid the Walt Disney Company in regards to 20th Century Fox to bolster the price of Fox to fuck over Disney, to purposely sort of try to outbid Disney so Disney has to overpay for it, or they're more inclined to, or they're kind of put in a corner to overpay for it, just to hurt the Walt Disney Company. And that's exactly what Brian Roberts did. Now, to be fair, Bob Iger didn't have to go through with it. Once it hit like 70 billion, he didn't have to buy it. He didn't have to write that check. But the fact that Brian Roberts was kind of in there just to kind of bolster the price of Fox with the counter bids, just to fuck over Disney, that's where I draw a line. That's not friendly competition, everybody. That's not friendly competition. This is a man, Brian Roberts, who, because he couldn't get what he wanted, he's actively trying to destroy and hurt the company that I love, the Walt Disney Company. He's actively trying to fuck it over. Okay. And I'm sorry, I love this company, and I love this kind of like foundation that Walt Disney kind of set and founded 100 years ago. And I'm sorry if that impacts me when I see an outside company like Comcast purposely trying to do harm on it. Okay. That's where I draw the line. Friendly competition, I want to make it very clear, is welcome. But sabotaging and kneecapping this company because you didn't get your way in 2004, yes, I'm sorry. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth with this company. Not to mention that Universal was also the company that fucked over Walt Disney with Oswald. But I won't even get into that. That was 100 years ago. Fine. Water under the bridge. But this Brian Roberts stuff does impact me. Now, I know I'm a minority here. I know even with super fans, a lot of you are not going to feel the same way. That's just how I feel. I can't help it. Now, it's not going to stop me from going to a Universal park and still enjoying their product. I absolutely will. But I would be lying to you if I said that it doesn't impact me in some way, that I know this company is out there to actually hurt Disney, and it's not just friendly competition. It is in my head, and it does leave a bad taste in my mouth. I can't help it. I can't. It does affect me when I have a passion for something, and there's this outside company like actively trying to hurt it. I don't know. It impacts me. I'm sorry. It does. And I know I'm on an island with this. A lot of you probably would disagree. But, I have no problem with look, Knott's Berry Farm, a friend of the channel, Theme Park Casual. He's always at Knott's, does phenomenal content. Subscribe to Theme Park Casual. We love him dearly. But he does a lot of stuff with Knott's and what have you. I love Knott's. Knott's has always been a real friend of the Walt Disney Company, but they're still a competitor, right? There's a way to do that. DC, Marvel, they do that. Even Warner Brothers, David Zaslav has talked on many quarterly earnings calls about how he wants to emulate a lot of what Bob Iger did with Marvel and what have you. So it's like this competition, but yet it's also this kind of like respect. Like, hey, I respect what they did over there, and I'm gonna try to emulate that. But yeah, we're competitors, right? I'm all on board with all that. I have no issue with Warner Brothers and their approach to that. That's awesome. You show respect to your competitor, but you're still in the game, right? And I'm sorry, what Brian Roberts does with Universal and the way he acts towards Disney feels more personal and more like vendetta driven than just friendly competition. And that's where I stand with it. But I want to know what you guys think about Universal, about the expectations in regards to Epic Universe. We discussed a lot here. For a solo video, I'm pushing 30 minutes. This is crazy, y'all. I never do this long of solo videos, but I thought it was a really important topic or topics, and I really wanted to address it. And again, please subscribe to Mr. Ranking the Mouse. I will link his channel down below. Subscribe to Mr. Theme Park Casual. I will link his channel down below. And also follow Disney Glimpses on Twitter. He is an awesome guy. Link down below. Comment down below also with your thoughts on everything we discussed today. Love you. Thank you all so much for supporting OG55. I hope you guys like the new set we got going on here. Vash Sky, producer Dre has helped me a little bit with actually not a little bit, a lot with the lighting. He got me all this fantastic lighting, which I love so much. I want to thank Dre for that. Help me set it up. I got this new little backdrop, just kind of, just trying to update the OG55 studio just a little bit, right? Kind of make it a little more professional, so it's still a work in progress, but we're getting there. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.